If one were to believe the majority of partisan media coverage from Ferguson, you would believe a certain facet of America believes the line of thinking that this outcome was fixed, and Black America wants nothing more than to riot to exact change. You would be wrong in so many ways, as there are now activists speaking out, agreeing with what was discovered in the Ferguson grand jury, and also agreeing with a number of things that Darren Wilson said in his ABC News interview. Many things that people are disagreeing with as well, and some are calling even incendiary. There is other news coming out of Ferguson today that indeed speaks to what is going to have to come next, and that's going to be the healing process, not only between Ferguson, but between America, between police departments, and also between African Americans around the country themselves who feel as if they are still the target of police departments across the country. Around the country today, we have, again, civil discourse, if you will. I don't want to call them protests, I don't want to call them riots, but I want to call them civil actions. Places like Atlanta, Boston, Los Angeles, Minneapolis, New York City, Oakland, and Washington, D.C. Most of them have been very, very peaceful. It should be pointed out, however, that in Oakland there were some fires set, and even some of the media in Oakland itself chose not to discuss what was being done in Oakland. They decided not to discuss the fact that there were some looters, if you will, and some rioters. So we have to bring this all together now and find out exactly where everybody stands, not just one side of the issue. Let's welcome back to MidPoint, radio talker, activist, founder of the WAAR Media Group, and getting out the word also on WayneDupree.com. Wayne Dupree joins us. Wayne, always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me back.
Wayne,
happy Thanksgiving.
To you as well. I was going to wait until we were done to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, but thank you. You got it right out of the way. There you go, to you as well. Wayne, is it not fair to say that much of the media is now pointing to a discourse that they say exists with all Black Americans, and they are putting everybody into one big, unfortunate bowl here, if you will, and saying everybody is against what's happened. They're against the grand jury. They're against Darren Wilson at this point. Aren't they lying to us in many ways, because there is a facet out there who thinks differently?
That's the collective liberalism that is out there right now, because everybody is part of one group when it's not so. I mean, there are a whole lot of people that are out there using common sense. There are a whole lot of people that reserve their judgment until they heard from the grand jury. Some people just don't feel good unless everybody is with them. And that, I mean, sometimes when I look at the Black community, my community, it seems like that's when they're most happy, is when everybody is on the same level. And it's not like that. A whole lot of people like to move forward to better themselves. And in the situation for Ferguson, you're talking about a police that defended himself, and a lot of us who use that common sense that I just spoke about are like, give him the benefit of the doubt until the facts come out, not the media facts, the facts.
Okay, two things in there you just struck on. I'm going to get to media facts in just a moment, but let me talk a little bit about what has happened here and the police departments. You will, though, admit that there is a fear amongst much of Black America with regard to police departments, because it is fair to say that there are those, specifically in the Black community, who fear the cops and say they are targeted. There are people out there who do that. I'm curious, are you fearful?
No, I'm not. And when that term Black community comes up, it's not every Black community. There are some Black communities that are living and thriving. You know, they aren't afraid of the police because they're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, I'm not saying everybody in Ferguson is not doing what they're supposed to do. I mean, I've been there. I mean, I've talked to some of the people on the ground. But you do have certain people that just won't do what they can to push ahead. Now, you can call it absent-minded. You can call it, like my parents used to say, hard-headed. But it's not all Black communities. And then you can talk to a whole lot of the minority communities in the same fashion like that.
Then if we have that gap, that Grand Canyon-esque gap, if you will, that still exists, how do we shrink that? How do we bring that back together so that we don't have that far left look at what's happening here and the far right look, and at least try to make it a little bit better? It doesn't seem to many people there's a starting point.
There's a starting point, but a whole lot of people don't want to do it. I was just speaking with someone earlier today. The Black community is a proud community. Um, they are prideful for their heritage, and they're prideful for um, people that have done so much throughout the history for the Black community, meaning like well, of names of past. But when they're told that they're wrong, or when you hold up somebody that they revere, and that person has done wrong, that pride gets in the way of learning or admitting that that person is wrong. O.J. Simpson, Michael Jackson, and that Barack Obama, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson. Those people. I mean, it's almost like if we jump on their um, their icons, then that's when the racist name comes out. Uncle Tom comes out because they don't want to hear it.
Wayne, I got about a minute left here. What about those who say that Michael Brown needs to be held as a symbol for everything that is wrong, and Michael Brown needs to be honored, if you will?
I agree he needs to be held as a symbol. I agree that he needs to be held as a symbol of what not to do when the police come up to you and say, get out of the street. Now, again, a life was lost, but we pray for that family and then we move on. But we have to teach our kids. We have to teach our kids, Ed.
Is it always going to continue this slide with the young Black community if we do hold people such as this to a place of honor in some ways?
I want to say no. I mean, I want to say that things are going to get better. But before things get better, we really have to continue to stand firm in our belief that if you do the right things, if you're responsible, if you take care of your family, if you go to school, if you shun the bad side, and you embrace the side that makes
I'm going to have to.
outstanding.
I'm going to have to stop you there because we're out of time. But I know exactly what you're saying as well. You've said it. We'll also talk to you again. Wayne, a very happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. Thanks for joining us.
Got you.
All right. Take care. And MidPoint will continue.